Classic Historical Tales presents The Last Canoes, The Extinction of the Menehune. Part 1, The Hidden People of the Valleys. They were not a myth once. Before the names of Tahiti and Oahu carried weight across the Pacific, before chiefs with feathered capes turned islands into kingdoms, there were the Menehune. They thrived in secret valleys and mist-choked ravines of Kauai. Some said they were half the height of other Hawaiians, but stronger than any full-grown man. At dusk, their canoes glided over the Hanalei River without a sound. By dawn, stone walls would appear along a fish pond's edge, perfect, fitted as if by magic. They built Ali Coco Fish Pond, walling in the water with coral and lava rock to trap mullet and ama. They raised taro in pond fields veined with clever channels that diverted stream water into a checkerboard of green. They planted sweet potato in hidden terraces, tucked where no high chief ever bothered to look. At night, their children played among the trees while the adults worked under moonlight, their eyes gleaming like eels. They worshipped gods no other Polynesians named, spirits of water and shadow, gods that demanded no blood, only the hush of secrecy. But even then, dark rumors slipped among them, sails glimpsed on the southern horizon. Foreign outriggers venturing north, carrying warriors whose ancestors had left the Marquesas centuries before. Menehune elders called them the Bone Eaters. By the time the first canoes made landfall, no one would listen to reason. Part 2, The First Incursions. It began as small raids. Polynesian warriors landing on Kauai's southern shores, hauling women and children away. They carried clubs and bone daggers with carved handles, obsidian edges that split the flesh as cleanly as a shark's bite. The Menehune did not understand the hunger in these men. It was a hunger for land, for the taro fields, for the fish ponds with their thick schools of silver. For the Menehune's silence, which made them contemptible in the eyes of chiefs who believed the land must be ruled openly. At first, the Menehune thought they could simply retreat deeper. But the Polynesians were relentless, sending out scouts in every valley, marking each hidden settlement with white shell markers by day. At night, they returned to torch every garden. Fires filled the canyons with black smoke. Children hid in the branches above as their parents died below. No treaty was offered, no ransom demanded. In the Polynesians' worldview, to be unseen was to be less than human. Menehune blood became a currency of conquest. The newcomers left corpses pinned to the riverbanks with spears driven through their spines, an unambiguous message: yield or be extinguished. Part 3, The Red Stream. The battles of Hanapepe and Nia were never recorded in any chant or genealogy. But those who survived described the earth itself turning slick with blood. Menehune warriors, outnumbered, fought with slings and stone axes, striking from the dark. For a while their tactics worked: ambushes in the gullies, traps in the thickets. But the Polynesians adapted. They set brush fires to flush out the hidden ones. They unleashed dogs trained to scent and maul. In Nia Valley, more than 100 Menehune took refuge in a cave behind a waterfall. For 3 days, they hid while the water ran red from bodies upstream. When the Polynesian scouts found them, they sealed the cave mouth with piled rocks and left them to suffocate. Those Menehune who escaped spoke of muffled screams behind the stone wall, which went on for hours, sometimes days. Later, the Polynesians returned to pull away the rocks and heap the bodies in the open sun. They did not bury them. Children too small to be worth killing outright were carried away, never to be seen again. Part 4, The Hunt Across Kauai. By the second season of raids, entire valleys were emptied. Polynesian chiefs declared kapu over conquered lands and established new heiau on raised gardens, sacrificing fish and pigs to their gods as the Menehune watched from the cliffs. In the forests above Kauai, the last sizable band gathered. They moved every night, grandparents wrapped in kapa, infants clutched to their mothers' chests, men carrying what little remained of their tools. But Polynesian scouts fanned across the slopes. They left piles of split taro roots as lures. When the Menehune crept close to scavenge, they were struck down. Their bodies were stripped and left to rot as a warning. Some tried to slip past the patrols by crawling along the gorges at night. It didn't matter. The Polynesians hunted them by torchlight. Spears glinted in the dark. Dogs bayed. The forests rang with the screams of children torn from their mothers. Blood dripped from the trees in the mornings, where limbs had been severed and hung. One by one, families vanished. Elders too frail to flee were clubbed to death on the spot. Warriors who tried to hold the line were burned alive in hidden shelters. The survivors retreated north, toward the cliffs where the sea waited. It was there that the last canoes were prepared. Part 5. The Flight to Nihoa. They had no choice but to abandon Kauai. The night they launched, a hard rain fell, drumming on the taro leaves. The canoes, slim dugouts, never meant for open crossings, were loaded in desperation. There were only a dozen left who could paddle. Infants were lashed to mothers with kapa strips. Bundles of taro and sweet potato were tucked beneath planks. No chant was sung, no farewell offered to the gods of their homeland. They slipped out in silence. At dawn, Polynesian warriors found a smoldering camp. They saw the footprints leading to the shore, the grooves in the sand where canoes had been dragged. They knew the Menehune had escaped, and they knew where they would go. As the sea swallowed the shoreline behind them, the Menehune turned once to see Kauai receding, a land that had been theirs for centuries, now poisoned with the memory of slaughter. They landed on Nihoa half dead with thirst. Islanders there had already heard of the hunt. Some offered them shelter, but none dared defy the kapu set by Kauai's conquerors. The Menehune were cursed now, vermin to be purged, or at least exiled beyond memory. Within weeks, more Polynesian canoes came searching. The Menehune did not wait to see if they would be shown mercy. Part 6. Nihoa, the barren refuge. Nihoa was a splinter of rock adrift in the Pacific, a place no one claimed because no one could live there. When the Menehune arrived, the cliffs seemed taller than the sky. The few seabirds nesting there shrieked as if to prophesy their doom. They dragged the canoes onto the shore and hid them beneath piles of driftwood. There were barely 30 of them left, half of them children. They built crude shelters from grass and rock. They found brackish water in the hollow of a cliff. What little food they had was rationed, a bite at a time. For years, no other sails appeared on the horizon. In those years, the Menehune dwindled. Children died first. The old soon followed. Mothers buried their infants beneath cairns of stone, while the men watched the sea for any sign of Polynesian sails. By 1826, when an American ship passed close enough to glimpse Nihoa's shoreline, only one extended family remained. The sailors who peered through their spyglasses thought they saw small brown people tending a fire on the heights. They logged it and sailed on, never knowing they were witnessing the last breath of a people already erased from every other island. Part 7. The Last Fires. No one recorded precisely when the final Menehune died. Some say it was a storm that swept over Nihoa in the winter of 1830, tearing their crude shelters to pieces and driving salt spray deep into the crevices where they kept their stored taro. Others claimed it was simple hunger that ended them. No new children born, no hope of rescue. Those last survivors must have sat at night by a guttering flame, remembering Kauai as it had been before the Polynesian sails arrived. remembering the fish ponds filled with silver flashes, the taro leaves waving in the valley breezes. The laughter of children who would never see their homeland again. They left no monuments, but a ring of stones where they cooked their final meals. When the first Western explorers finally climbed Nihoa's cliffs in the 19th century, they found only traces, bone fragments, a charred hearth, scraps of worn kapa. No one could say who they were. The last Menehune slipped into legend, their bones mingling with seabird droppings and volcanic grit. A people hunted to extinction because they would not bow. A people remembered only as whispers in the night, the little men of Kauai, the hidden ones who vanished in blood and salt and silence. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for more classic historical tales. Click subscribe to never miss the next exciting episode.